All right, hey guys, this video is going to go over lesson 1.5, and we are learning about equations of proportional relationships. So we learned about graphs. We know that a graph of a proportional relationship starts at 0, 0. It has a constant rate. Looks like that. We know what the table of a proportional relationship looks like, and now we're going to learn about the equation of a proportional relationship. So we're going to be able to identify the constant of proportionality in an equation. We're going to be able to write equations, and we're going to be able to write and use the equations to solve problems. All right, so our first example, again, you don't have this, but you can just kind of watch it on my screen, is I have a graph of a proportional relationship. It goes through 0, 0. It's going up at a constant rate. The equation is for proportional relationships are always going to look like this. They're going to look like y equals, we're going to call it k times x. So this k here is going to be your unit rate or your constant of proportionality, which I'm just going to abbreviate COP, constant of proportionality. So here's an example. If I say, hey, I go to the store and it's $2 per pound of apples. So obviously, if I buy 1 pound, it's going to cost me $2. If I buy 2 pounds, it's going to cost me $4. If I buy 3, it's going to cost me $6, $8, etc. If I wanted to know how much it would cost for any amount of pounds, I would do $2 times however many pounds I'm buying. So if I was buying 20 pounds, I would do 2 times 20. If I was buying 40, I would do 2 times 40. And then we'll just put that y equals in front. Okay, so the number right next to the x, that's always going to be your unit rate, how much it is for 1, or your constant of proportionality. The x is going to just kind of depend what the situation is. So in this case, it's how many pounds I buy. And then the y is going to be the cost, because I'm trying to find out what my cost would be. So that's what the equation is going to look like for a proportional relationship. All right, our first problem, I'm just going to kind of put that off to the side, but I'm going to write bigger over here. It's going to say that Olivia bought 6 containers of yogurt, and it cost her $7.68. Okay, I want to know, could I write an equation to find out how much it would cost for any amount of yogurt containers? Okay, so we're going to start with this. I'm going to say let x equal the number of containers I'm going to buy, and y, it kind of says this in the directions, y is going to be the total cost. Okay, so I want to know, like, hey, what if she bought 12 containers? What if she bought 15 containers? What if she bought 20 containers? So the first step that you're going to do to find the equation of a proportional relationship is you're going to have to figure out the unit rate, or that constant of proportionality. So if I know it costs $7.68 for 6 containers, I would want to know, well, how much is it for just 1 container? So I'm going to take my money, $7.68, divided by 6 to figure out how much it costs for 1 container. Well, that ends up being $1.28. So it's $1.28 per container. Okay, so now my equation, okay, is going to start with y. So again, that's going to be my cost, my total cost. So to find out the cost, it's $1.28 per container. So if it's 1 container, I do $1.28 times 1. 2 containers, $1.28 times 2. 3 containers, $1.28 times 3. If I'm buying X containers, it's $1.28 times X, which you can just write right next to each other. So again, the Y is going to give me the cost. The X is the number of containers that she buys. So it's $1.28 times however many containers she buys. That is my equation for this problem. Now, it might say, hey, what's the constant of proportionality? Well, my constant of proportionality is $1.28 then, 1.28. My unit rate, if it asks me that needs a label. That stands for $1.28 per container. Okay, so now that we have our equation, let's do a step 3. What if I asked you to use that equation and find out how much it would cost for 30 containers? Maybe she's having a party, needs a lot of yogurt. Okay, so I'm going to come back over here and write in black. I'm going to say, okay, to find my cost, it's $1.28 times, she's buying 30 containers. So I plug that in for X. All right, if I do that, $1.28 times 30, I end up with 38.4, well, money would be $38.40. I add that 0. Okay, so let's have you try one. Or actually, I'll just kind of go through this one. So an airplane travels 780 miles in 4 hours. So it goes 780 miles in 4 hours. I want to know, could we write an equation that shows how far the plane's going to travel in any amount of hours? Okay, so to do that, first thing you need to do is find the unit rate. Okay, because it's going to go at a constant speed. So I want to know how far it would go in just 1 hour, because miles per hour, that makes sense. So it goes 780 miles in 4 hours. I want to know how much in 1 hour. Remember, that line means divide, so I can do 780 divided by 4, and I get 195. So that means it goes 195 miles in 1 hour. That's my unit rate. Okay, so my constant of proportionality is 195. Okay, so now my equation. So if I want to find out the total number of miles, I'm going to put y equals, and it goes 195 miles per hour. So I'll put 195. That's for 1 hour. 2 hours, I double it. 3 hours, I times it by 3. 4 hours, I times it by 4. If she's going to go for x hours, I have to times that by x. So I always like to just draw a little arrow. My y stands for the total miles she's going to go. The 195 is the unit rate. And the x is the number of hours. So I just wrote an equation. Okay, so let's apply that equation. What if I say, how far is that plane going to go in 7 hours? Well, you would do 195. Instead of an x, I'm going to put a 7 because that's the hours. And then I would work that out. So 195 times 7 is 1,365 miles it would go. All right, so I want you to think about this whole situation, and I want you to see if you can answer part A and part B now after we went through that. So pause the video and push play when you're ready. Okay, so the first question said, what's the constant of proportionality? Well, we already talked about that. It's 195. You can always find that right there. What does that represent? Well, if you kind of do it how I did it, it stands for he goes 195 miles in 1 hour. So it would be D. He goes 195 in 1 hour. Okay, I want you to read through the extra example and try that one down here at the bottom. Push play when you're ready. All right, it says Robert typed 2 pages in 15 minutes. So if you want that to be a unit rate, we want to know how many pages, how long it takes for just 1 page. So it's 15 minutes for 2 pages. To get 1 page, you would divide it out and you get 7.5. So you can see they already gave you the equation. Y equals 7.5x. So part A says find the constant of proportionality. Well, that would be 7.5. And then describe it. Well, that means that Robert can types 7.5. Nope, that's not what that means. It takes 7.5 minutes per page. Or you could have put he types 1 page per 7.5 minutes. That would have been fine too. Okay, so I kind of went through most of it, but we're just going to kind of quickly go through this. So same thing, JC bought 8 gallons of gas for $31.12. I want to know, can you write an equation for that? Okay, so same thing, you need to figure out how much per 1 always. So it costs $31.12 for 8 gallons. And I think to myself, I want to know like how much it costs for just 1 gallon. So I'm going to divide that out. $31.12 divided by 8 ends up being $3.89. So it's $3.89 per gallon. That's my unit rate. How much per 1? Okay, now that I have that, I can write the equation. So my equation is going to be y equals, I know my unit rate, 3.89. It's $3.89 per gallon. That per is kind of a key word that means multiply. So it's $3.89 times however many gallons I buy. So $3.89 per, X is the number of gallons. Y would be my total cost. Okay, so my constant of proportionality, if I ask you that, it's $3.89. Please pause the video and try this one. All right, the first one, it's $270 for 5 hours. So you want to know how much money is it for just 1 hour. So you can do 270 divided by 5, and you end up with 54. So that means it's $54 per 1 hour. So your equation is going to be y equals 54x. Okay, and it's $54 per hour. So x is the number of hours. Y is the total cost. All right, let's try another one. It says Jack is in charge of the 120,000 gallon community swimming pool. Each spring, he drains the pool in order to clean it. When finished, he refills it with fresh water. He can fill the pool with 500 gallons of water in 5 minutes. It says, can you write an equation that represents the relationship between the total number of gallons, y, and the number of minutes spent filling, which is x. And so it tells you what the x and the y stand for, which is nice. Okay, so first thing, here's the rate that it gave us. He does 500 gallons in 5 minutes. I want to know, well, how much would he do in just 1 minute? So if I do 500 divided by 5, I get 100. So he fills it with 100 gallons per minute. Okay, so your equation said, could you find the total number of gallons, which they called y? So that's your total gallons in x minutes. So, well, he does 100 gallons per minute. So I'm going to put times x, and that's the minutes. Okay, so now it says, how long is it going to take for the pool to be completely filled? Well, filled is 120,000 gallons. So I have to figure out 120,000 is 100 times something, because we know he does 100 per minute. Well, if you think 100 times something is that, I'm going to do the opposite operation and divide by 100. I'm going to divide by 100. So 120,000 divided by 100 is 1,200 minutes it would take to fill that pool. Now I might say, like, how many hours is that? Well, there's 60 minutes in an hour, so if I just divide that by 60, it looks like that would take him 20 hours to fill that pool.